Oh, hi. You haven't seen a guy with a top hat and a gun around here, have you? Okay. Oh, you'd like to know what steampunk is? Sure, yeah, I got a second. Yeah, steampunk is this science fiction and fantasy genre that's inspired by Industrial Revolution era technology and culture. So, you know, maybe Victorians with gadgets, or the Wild West, or, you know, Meiji period with rocket ships to the moon, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's about it. I've got to go.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Say, did you see a man come through here with a mechanical hand? You did? Wonderful. Yeah, no, I have a minute. You want to know how steampunk got started? Sure, I think I can answer that. Back in the 1960s, there was a Victorian revival of fashion, aesthetic, really came back into vogue. Movies and stories started being made that involved a lot of these things. Then, later on, in the 80s, a man named K.W. Jeter was responding to a review of one of his books, and he, through writing into a magazine about this review, he tongue-in-cheek, poking at cyberpunk, called what he and his contemporaries were writing as steampunk. So that's kind of, you know, how it all started, and then we got through to today. But I've got to go and take care of this guy.
You again? Oh, you've met him, okay. You working to... Oh, you just want to know more about steampunk media? Yeah, sure. A lot of steampunkers, however you want to be called, end up absorbing steampunk first before doing stuff. Yeah, sure, absolutely. If you want to get into some books, some more kind of modern stuff is like Bone Shaker. Oh, the whole Clockwork Century series is really cool. Got this Civil War extended way too long, zombies, that sort of thing. Ah, very fun. If you want something a little more epic in scale, Difference Engine, classic. Everfair, pretty good too. Really dug it. If you want to play some video games, you can go some classic Final Fantasy VI, or you could go Dishonored BioShock Infinite. A little more arcadey, Foul Play or Speed Brawl. Definite fun. Well, if you want to read some comic books, there's Gotham by Gaslight, Lady Mechanica, Bitterroot. Oh, great stories. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool steampunk media out there. Oh my gosh, music even. You got Steam-Powered Giraffe and Professor Elemental. There's a lot out there. Don't just take it from me though. There's, start with those though. Great choices. Anyway, I've, good talking to you, I think.
Oh, hi again. Yeah, no, I can spare to give him a few minutes lead. Oh, okay, so you want to start dressing like a steampunk and maybe some point after the apocalypse go to events again? So how do you get started doing that? Well, costuming is actually pretty easy. Thrift stores are your friend. Hat, preferably not a baseball cap, something a little bit more period appropriate. Vests, trousers, fancy bow tie, all easy to get at a thrift store for anybody. And then one of the great things about steampunks is the props. And you can buy props, you can make props. Making a pair of goggles is out of mason jar lids, very simple, and they don't look too bad. But you can get as complex as you want or as simple as you want, just so long as you're having fun doing it. So, yeah, I think I've still got to get this guy.
Good to see you again. Oh, you'd like to know who I am? Yeah, I don't know why you didn't introduce yourself in the first place. I'm Lucas Merriweather Buford.
It's about time.
Finn?
Hi, I'm Phineas Cromwell.
And we're the Citizens of Antiford.
I have been chasing you all over town.
What's with the gun, though?
It's for a friend. No, not you. Not you.
Well, what?
You left your phone at my place.
What?
Yeah. You left your phone at my place.
Oh. Huh. I guess I'm kind of exhausted from running around town now.
Yeah.
You want to head in?
Yeah. Good idea.
All right. Then I told him, that's not a land ship. That's my badger. Oh, Lieutenant.
Anyway. Hi. Thank you for joining us inside.
You joined us so that you can learn about joining the steampunk community. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's great. There are a bunch of great ways of starting to participate in the community.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like going on to, a bunch of my favorite social media platforms and just kind of searching steampunk region or, state steampunk group. Yeah. And I found plenty of those.
Oh yeah, you find they're all over the place.
Sure, and personally I've found a lot of luck in searching for New England steampunk. There's a few different groups, and they're all pretty decent. So that's a great way.
In fact, that's how we got started. Was going to the New England steampunk meetups, the meetups.
Sure, I mean that's how we started in kind of the greater community.
Right, that's how we started in the community.
But we did already kind of have our own little.
Oh,
community.
we did already.
Right, so we're part of the Citizens of Antiford, as we said. We are a group that builds a steampunk world together, with writing and art and encyclopedias and maps and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
and we're an open group and we've had people come and go and it's been good fun. Some people really like that kind of world building thing together. But we've met other great groups that are a lot more free-form.
Oh yeah, like the Red Fork Empire.
Oh my gosh, those guys are great.
Kind of headed up by Emperor Justinian. They're an artist collective that kind of is under the mantra of everyone can and should make art, which is a great message to give people.
So, and yeah, if you're interested in that sort of just philosophical art side of steampunk and other nerdy, just nerdness in general,
they cover a lot of
that group is really cool. Yeah. So both our group and their group, we kind of span more than one region. Although we have our friends close by, but we all span that kind of greater area.
Right.
And if you want to start your own groups, please. If you don't, obviously find if there's groups in your area first. But if there isn't,
make one.
Good time to start.
Yeah.
So they've got to start sometime.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, another great way.
Oh my gosh, joining a festival.
Yeah, going to events.
Yeah, either online, virtually, or in person.
Yeah.
So.
There are some great ones out there. Watch City in Waltham, Mass. Jewelry City in Attleboro, Mass.
Compass Rose
in Connecticut. You got the Brickstore Museum in Kennebunk, Maine.
Yeah, those guys are great.
You've got they're just kind of little events all over the place.
You can't forget about Mockenbakken.
There's our event, Mockenbakken, which is a great little fall kind of festival type, food and games. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have fun with Mockenbakken.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many good ways to get into the steampunk community, but just like search, find, meet your fellows. If you ever bump into us, say hello. We're happy to.
We're more than happy to
We're
chat.
Overly enthusiastic.
Yeah. we love meeting new people.
Sorry if you're a little introverted. We'll keep our cool.
We'll try.
But yeah, so thanks for joining us on this jaunt today.
Yeah. It was fun.
I hope you learned something. So how does your ship fly, really?
Air.
Air?
Air.
Just like with a pump?
Kind of. There's lots of weird science that goes into it, electricity and whoosh, and it's great.
Huh. You think I could borrow some of that tech for my automatons? Flying robots?
You don't need flying. I don't need you to have flying robots, and
Oh.
they would go whoosh probably into a wall and break. It wouldn't be good.
I mean, on your first couple, but I'd work out the kinks. Hey!
Hello.
How's it going, everyone? Just gearing up still?
Yep.
But
Well, that was a fun video.
Yeah, we had fun crafting that. It's a kind of a guide for newbies.
Yep.
Hello, chat. Oh, I missed a ring.
Can't do that.
No, can't ever do that. We had somebody ask where we were palling around in that video. That's actually up in Manchester, New Hampshire, down by the river. There's a lot of old mill buildings, a lot of old history. I really recommend there's a museum down there. I forget what it's called, but it's like Manchester Old Mill Yard Museum, and downstairs, like you walk in. And there's a whole bunch of great stuff, and then you can go up the stairs to the Science Center, and then the Science Center below it has a Lego recreation of like steampunky
cool.
Victorian mill yard Manchester, like
that's
the
cool.
whole downtown of the city in Lego. Period. It's amazing.
Haven't been there. I'll have to check that out.
You will have to check that out. Absolutely. And that's the other thing that I love about steampunk, right? Because it's not just about, the whole sci-fi part. There's also so much history.
yeah, especially if you're local to New England, especially steampunk's ties to the Industrial Revolution.
Yep.
There are so many museums in the area just because this is where the Industrial Revolution in America was really born. That there is so much history to draw from just from local areas in New England.
I mean, if you look at even the city of Lowell in Massachusetts, the entire city was carved out for the Industrial Revolution.
Oh,
yes.
So,
Well, and Manchester, New Hampshire itself
Yeah.
was renamed from Derryfield to Manchester after Manchester, England, when the mills became a big thing. So you got a few Watch City pins, few
got those.
Mockenbakken, Jewelry City. I know I have some brass ring memorabilia around. We've been to so many of the events. We love them all. So
there's a good question here. So what panels or events have we enjoyed the most at small events? I guess in particular steampunk events.
Sure. I know that one of my favorite things, kind of more in the past couple years, was the steampunk presentation, like PowerPoint karaoke.
Oh,
Yeah.
PowerPoint karaoke
Which
is so much fun.
Which you can catch during this event, a version of. So I'm very excited about that. But that was one of my favorites.
I've really enjoyed the world building style panels and the prop building panels. They always seem to give a lot of very good ideas, and particularly, with our group, how
involved we are in world building, it makes sense to get as much information on that as possible.
And my favorite thing is definitely the artists that are involved with steampunk festivals and conventions. Is that not only do you get to meet local steampunk authors and steampunk artists, vendors. They have amazing wares. I love to shop steampunk stuff.
Oh yeah.
And there are so many talented artists out there that you get to explore with these small festivals.
And everybody you meet always has so much to say, so much to discuss, so much to talk about, so many ideas.
And that's that's like probably the best thing out of the steampunk events, especially the smaller events. The people who go there love to talk about how they've done things. So you see somebody with a proper costume that you really like, you go and you talk to them, and they're more than happy to just spill everything of how they've worked on it. And it's great to be able to collaborate on those kinds of things.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got a question here. Hi from Sweden.
Hi,
Hello,
Sweden.
Sweden. What are your thoughts on European steampunk? You guys have the best venues every time.
Oh yeah, hands down.
I know, and I see the pictures coming out of the German events that are just like, your costuming is amazing.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
I know someday we'd like to get over there to one of the European events.
I mean, there's a small handful of steampunks from Europe that I've seen on YouTube. Captain something or other. He's the one with the axes. I forget his name. And then we've done an interview before with Bonsart.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of his stuff. He's got like the whole SCP thing, but like more of a steampunky twist on it.
Steampunky military.
He enjoys going very, very hard on the military aesthetic, which is an interesting aesthetic. He's definitely got it down.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, oh my god! Every time I see anything from cosplays from Europe, it's just gorgeous. I'm curious. It used to be back in the day, right, where New England was kind of the only place where people would create characters and then cosplay their own characters, kind of like how we do, where I have Lucas and yada yada.
And
right. And then from everything I've heard, like everywhere else, even the rest of the U.S., but Europe and Australia and Japan, kind of bigger centers of steampunk, it was more about just how can I make a great costume, just kind of in general, like how can I add more cool, interesting things. I don't know if you have anything, but...
Yeah, no, I've heard similar things. It's definitely a regional difference between me dressing up as steampunk and me cosplaying a character that I've created. And I've heard that about Australian steampunks are very similar to at least Eastern U.S. steampunks in that way. But but yeah, it's interesting comparing different
steampunk cultures.
Cultures. Because it's funny because we all love the same thing, but we express it in different ways.
Yeah. And that's one of the nice things about it, is that there's so many different ways of expressing it.
Yeah.
Your appreciation for it.
Also, one of your favorite forums is European.
I was gonna bring that. I was gonna bring that up too.
Yeah. So my favorite place to get ideas for steampunk or discuss things about steampunk is Brass Goggles, which is actually based in the UK. It's a UK forum. But there's actually a lot of Americans on there, too.
There's a lot of us Yankees on there.
Yeah, so... But it's a great place to check out that people either have costuming suggestions, you want to test out a recipe from 1886, or you want to like completely overhaul your bathroom to look like the Nautilus. There's actually tutorials on how to do that on Brass Goggles. So it's one of those places that I always recommend, because even if the popularity with users has come and gone, it's a great resource to even look back on older topics to get ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have a question about working on a festival of our own.
About working on a festival or event of our own. booking the first venue and how many coming.
Yeah.
We actually did run it. I ran into that a lot when we ran Mockenbachen.
Yeah.
It was a challenge.
Well, hold on. For those who don't know,
Yeah.
Mockenbachen, for the Citizens of Antiford group, is kind of like a fictional in-world holiday, and then we made it like a group picnic, and we wanted to grow it bigger and bigger, but it was just kind of this group thing until maybe last year?
Until last year.
Last year.
Yep.
My God, it's been a long year.
Yes, it has.
When we decided to make it a bigger event, just kind of all at once, and we got a bigger venue, and we really pushed for some vendors. And yeah, so then we planned kind of the first big public Mockenbachen as a festival. And yeah, so anyway.
We had only ever had at our small little picnic, even though we had it open, like anybody could go to it. We never had more than 35 people there.
Sure, but it was different.
But it was different.
Yeah, it's
so
a small,
us,
like potluck,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of music, but not anything like planning a schedule and all
right?
of that.
We had no events. We had limited
So-
music.
So when we made it a venue, a real
Right.
proper festival.
Trying to get to that proper festival, estimating how many people were going to be going, and having to include all of the vendors who were going to be there, their extra people, the performers who were going to be there, who we thought was going to show up based on our ticket sales.
And we had been to a couple like first year events.
Yeah,
So we did kind of have rough ideas about what size a first year event might attract.
And based on what we thought we could attract, we were actually pretty on the nose. I said we were going to have anywhere between 150 and 160 people there, and I think we had like 148. So like we were pretty dead on.
And those numbers are obviously dependent on the area that you're holding it and what type of event it is. So we had more of an outdoor festival with lawn games and live entertainment that was going through.
It was still small. However, we did also run into the issue, and I would really recommend this. Check other things that are happening at the same time, because we had a chili festival 2 towns away, and in the same town down the street we had an antiques fair. So we don't know how many people were like, oh, is this the steampunk event?
And then they
stayed there
because their big thing was on the way to our thing.
Yeah. So I would definitely check that out and shop around for venues for what you feel would fit what you're trying to do.
Sure. And I don't think any venue is going to be perfect. Like I know, like there's a balance.
I don't know. Yeah.
There's a balance between like price of the venue and like. We were trying to be mindful of accessibility, but our venue could only be so accessible, which was unfortunate. I really didn't, enjoy having to be like that. But like, unfortunate thing is we were not like a town festival.
Right.
A lot of
we weren't attached to a town.
A lot of the festivals in our area are attached to, put on by a group that has kind of the say of the town, like
They have some connections to the town.
Yeah.
Right. Like how Jewelry City is normally run in the kind of area of Attleboro and the public library and all that. The fortunate thing about that is all those government buildings like the library and stuff have fantastic just space, accessibility, parking. Like that's always super good.
And it also is a good thing to look into whether or not it's a for-profit event or a non-profit event. With nonprofit, you do get a lot of benefits, like you can apply for grants if you're associated with the town or a certain industry. And with nonprofit, you do get access for free for things like booking things within libraries and other places. So that's also another consideration depending on why and like what your interest in running a festival actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of doing your research and running the numbers. I see Jewelry City, Steampunks New England has posted the Jewelry City planning, and you really do have to plan based on the factors of your festival. Like, are you a big are you taking over the downtown? That's going to be you're going to get a lot of people who just stumble upon your event. Like, I know that's a big draw in Watch City as well, is that people just kind of go through there all the time because it's so close to Boston and there's so much activity in Waltham itself the people just kind of go, oh, hey, what's going on? Oh, this is cool. And then they tell their 7 friends for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were Machenbachen was tucked away.
Yes.
Sure.
So-
And that's a consequence of in New Hampshire and our quality of venues we can afford at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I know that because we're operating as a for-profit because the paperwork is simpler. We only created that just to sell our book more than anything, because the book we created, Adventure Collection. It's
And then in our subsequent books.
Yep. We're working on new books.
Yeah.
And that's it's a collection of many authors. So it's much easier to have, a company to put on there for copyright and all
I
that.
was going to say, I shouldn't be the one looking for the book to pull off the shelf because I do not have glasses on right now.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring on the book.
Yeah.
Yes, you do have a signed
Right
copy
here.
of the book, Jessica.
And we also have a signed copy of yours.
Yes, we do.
Or at least one of them.
Yeah.
One of the many.
One of the books.
Yeah. Oh, what did we use for our ticketing? Did we use our own sales, or I think
Yes, I think we went through. So we have a Shopify as where we sell our wares, and we
Oh
sell.
no, we have a store envy.
Or store envy.
We have
sorry.
store envy,
Store envy,
which is linked on our site.
Yeah, so we did ticketing sales through PayPal is our back end for that. But I've known other people have instead of setting up a shop where you sell a digital item, they use a ticketing service. But there is some pros and cons to that. So like ticketing services often they support like event cancellations and refunds very easy versus not doing it through a shop doesn't really cover that.
right, we would have to manually handle
Yeah.
that if
Right.
somebody wanted a refund for their ticket. We'd have to PayPal their money back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a drawback, some of those ticketing services do cost like a certain percentage, like either 20 or 30% of the actual ticket price, which depending on what ticketing service is, sometimes the purchaser of the ticket gets to pay that, or other times the venue does pay that, or like the festival.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and thank you for posting our website. Yeah, our website, we have tons of stories in the library section. We have lots of world-building knowledge in the encyclopedia. There's a little shopping cart icon if you want to buy our book on our store. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That's kind of the lifeblood of what we work on, is kind of all the stories and fun information that we kind of put onto the site. It's a bit of an older site now, but it works pretty dang well for what it is.
and it's a free and open community, so if you do like the things that you read and you want to join us in this collaborative world building effort that we've been doing for the past 10 years.
This is our 10th year.
This is our 10th year. Oh my gosh.
That feel free to join. All you need is the name and the email.
Yep. Yeah, and we try to make it as easy to read the content as possible. So it works beautifully on your phone. It works beautifully on your computer. There's a little download as an ebook button on every story. There's a little play button. You can have the the computer read the story to you.
Yeah.
Some of the names are kind of funny.
It can't pronounce.
I mean,
Phineas.
it's still a robot voice.
Yeah.
You know, it's not quite as fancy as like a assistant or a Siri or whatnot.
Yep. So our next project, we've actually been working on for a little while. There's been a kind of a delay.
Oh, I guess
This
are we
year?
going to announce that? Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not?
Let people know. I think it's already on our website for our
Right.
members, for anyone to see what our
Yeah.
next project is.
But our next project is another book.
Yes.
That's the big thing.
And it's the theme is gizmos and gadgets.
Yep.
So we're leaning a little harder into the technology side of things. Where before it was more about the grand adventure.
Yeah, so it'll be in this sort of series of collective of stories that are tied loosely by a theme. This one obviously being adventure, an introduction to the world of
Antiford.
Antiford. I don't know why I said steampunk because it's steampunk stories. This is a steampunk event. But so the next one will be about specifically stories about steampunk gizmos and gadgets.
So there's another good question about the costumes telling a story, and this is something we kind of touched on earlier. I think Abigail touched on that, where yes, kind of. So
I mean,
so
yes.
the costumes are the way that we've done them, and the way a lot of people in New England do them is we've built a character with a costume, and then as that character evolves, the costume then changes. Yeah. You can go, my character would wear this top hat, or I bought myself a big like Australian drover coat, like a big like cowboy trench coat, because my character Phineas would use that in some of his travels.
Yeah, that's his hunting coat.
Right. Sam has made updates to his hand.
Oh yeah, constantly. As you know, and every time I make a new prop, it's really just like the evolution of my character upgrading his prosthetic. So yeah, I actually originally didn't even have a prosthetic for my character, and I had a whole different name and whatever. But when I created the prosthetic hand with a few friends of mine as a prop, that really changed the character in a way that really got me going and telling Lucas Merriweather Buford's story and how he.
I'm glad you changed the name.
Oh, absolutely. Let's speak no more. Speak no more of it. But how, the character, he escaped the frenzy of the revolution in our country, having lost his arm in the crazy revolt situation. And then he learned how to build himself an arm, and that led him to being really good at robotics. So then he has a whole robot company where he's got like this almost monopoly for quite a while on building automatons in our world. So if you need an automaton to do some dangerous work in your factory, you're going to Buford Automaton to buy it.
It also sort of helps you hone in on what items to get for your costume.
Yeah.
For example, my character never uses like guns or does violence in that way, so it wouldn't. Even though there are a lot of really cool steampunk weapons out there that I'm very tempted to buy because, honestly, they're gorgeous, it does not make sense for my costuming or my character just because that's just not who she is.
Yep.
So, and my character is more of a chemist where my props may be more
test
tubes or syringes, or like cool decanters and things like that.
Yeah, because when we first started, we would go on trips to antique stores around the area, and I would just pick up random things that I thought were neat, and then I put them in a bin and never use them, and that's such a waste because other people could buy them or use them, right? So it was really good to have that focus.
It does help for these steampunk swap meets, though.
Yeah, and definitely one thing I'm looking forward to with being back in person
after the apocalypse
is really because steampunk's like there's a lot of things that I just take with me to these events, and I'm like, here, you could use this because I definitely cannot, and we have definitely had some friends who have been like, here is a giant axle from a car. Here, you can have it.
We used it. We made a sculpture out of it that was used as a trophy. It wasn't a trophy. It was a.
It's a mannequin head holder.
Yeah,
so,
there's a mannequin head
holder. It's like a part of an axle of a car. So it's like this giant gear with a post on it. So to display things in our booth. We actually put a mannequin head on it.
When we go to events, we'll sometimes have a vendor booth, and we'll sell our book and some items that our community has made, including little head things. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's funny. We're busy, but we're also like everything we work on takes its time.
Yeah.
But that is one of the nice things about our costuming, though. Yeah. Unlike a standard kind of cosplay, like you'd get at like an anime convention or a Comic-Con, where it's kind of a one and done.
And they work so much harder.
And they work so hard on that one thing. And then it's just done and it's gone. It's not used again. We get to develop ours over a long period of time.
Yeah.
You know, I've been working on Phineas for 10 years. I've really been able to flush out a character. I can even have conversations as Phineas. Like,
Yeah, and it's funny. So this hand is only
brand
a couple
new, like,
a
still
couple.
like 3-5 years old.
It's only a couple years old at this point. I'll be working on the next one at some point, sure. But this tie right here, I got this tie 10 years ago.
Yep.
Woo! When we were starting the group in Keene, New Hampshire. Like,
Yep.
this is a tie I bought 10 years ago, and it still looks great with all of my costumes. You know, you can keep evolving and have a rolling kind of.
Well, you have a wardrobe, but
Yeah.
then you're not having. You can have several costume changes over the course of a
Yes.
weekend at an event,
Yeah.
but it's all still within the same character.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of
It's
held
so
together with a
guilty.
theme.
I have lots of costumes for my character, but it's part of the fun too, because instead of investing in all of one thing that I wear multiple times or multiple days in a multi-day convention, you also can change it up, so it makes like going to different events even more exciting, that you get to dress up
Well, and
in a different outfit.
yeah,
right?
and the other great thing is it adds more complexity to your character, right? Because one day you're fancy going to parties and
Yeah.
poisoning the rich Abigail,
Yeah.
and then another day I'm going out into the desert and trading with the demons Abigail.
Yep.
One day I can kind of be I'm going on a safari, whatever,
Yep.
and then the next day I'm doing business today. I'm business Buford.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is great. Oh, have you ever
Can you even
have a
even
costume contest?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are some very intricate, elaborate outfits that people work on.
And now to be fair, maybe not the same rules as anime
Right.
contests.
Yeah, because it's not based on like screen accuracy sort of outfits.
Yeah.
But you can definitely have costuming contests where it's like best thrifted costume, like where you have all the pieces of your costume that you have thrifted or altered from existing clothing. Versus there are some people who make beautiful hand done, like almost Victorian reproductions of ball gowns that are steampunk, and you can definitely have costumes that are comparatively to that for contests.
And I think we went to Springfield, Vermont's first, or maybe both their first and second years. Springfield, Vermont had a really great steampunk festival. I especially liked when they involved the downtown, and I think a community center or and they had a costume contest. What was really great about that was because it was like that year's first year, so they had the whole town super excited and involved. So you had a lot of kids and teens who were doing steampunk stuff for the first time and making like duct tape robot costumes, and that was really fun. They had I think it was more of like a fashion show more than anything. Like you'd come out and you'd do your little walk on the catwalk and you'd come off and like people would applaud. And that was super cool to see. That was so much fun. Like, not everyone's going to do the most elaborate thing ever, but it was great.
Yeah, but Melissa brings up a good point that props are such a big component because steampunk is that like Victorian plus, as you like to say, where it's kind of all about the gadgets and the props, or at least a lot of it.
Yeah, and in terms of like competitions,
right?
I think Melissa's bringing it up because of the Watch City Mad Scientist competition, which we participated in. You and Captain Leo Swift.
Yeah. We took part in that, and that was a ton of fun, and there were so many great props that were built for it.
Yeah.
The first place guy, he had built this. It's not called a solarium. What is it called? With the thing that goes.
It was
around?
it was a orbital model.
Model, yeah. So he had a planet with the sun going around, and all his laser cut, and it changed dates.
Oh.
It was like some crazy time machine. It was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time.
Oh, and I had my friend there who also has a mechanical hand.
Yeah.
He participated.
Yeah.
His was great.
Yep.
Yeah, his was like a distillant from an exotic bird that it was like an alternative to caffeine or something, and that's the best thing about steampunk props is that they don't make any sense.
They don't have to make sense.
Cool
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah,
There's that bit of
Whimsy.
Yes.
fancifulness.
Yes.
That
Right,
it
it
kind
like,
of makes it
right.
steampunk.
It's like when you were a kid and you had this cardboard box and you
Yeah.
glued some things to it and you're like, it does this thing. It's a transmogrifier, like your Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes.
Right.
Like, it's that sort of fun fanciness. Like, think of the most Rube Goldberg thing ever, and then just like, put it in one place instead of doing all the hard work. No, Rube Goldberg things are actually really cool too. I think, was it Bruce Rosenbaum? He did a talk where he's talking about working with kids, I think, on the autism spectrum.
I think he was working with.
Yeah,
And
it's
they-
part of a
kids,
STEAM.
students.
Right.
So instead of STEM, they're reintroducing art, and it's called STEAM now.
Right,
Which
science,
is
technology,
Yeah.
art. Science,
Engineering,
technology,
math.
engineering, art,
art
and
math.
Yeah.
So he does it in a steampunk sort of way that's intriguing to kids who are like, meh, whatever math.
yeah.
The steampunk element keeps it more interesting, and they develop these skills.
Right, they all made a part of a Rube Goldberg device that they all put together. It was so cool. It was awesome. And Bruce Rosenbaum is also doing content for this festival this year, so I'm excited to see that too.
Me too.
Always interesting work, that man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know his the church. So
The Modvic?
yeah, the Modvic Church. So if you haven't heard of Bruce Rosenbaum, he and his wife Melanie did the Steampunk House, and they had since sold that property and bought a church that they are converting into this giant steampunk art gallery, and is like the coolest venue for a gallery because you have that wide open, very tall.
Yeah.
He's doing his hue machines, and all of them are all like made out of steampunk parts and antique things. Oh,
It's really
so cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
That guy is so cool.
Yeah. We have a question. Where do you go for your small meetups? So for many years there, we had the New England Steampunk Meetup, which was held in the Charles River Museum in Waltham.
And then
Management changed, and then management changed.
But then we started moving around to different locations.
Yeah.
It was kind of easier since a lot of people do have to travel.
Yeah.
That it was easier to kind of scoot around. Those haven't happened for.
It's
a
difficult
little
to
while.
find
It's-
a venue to hold sort of bigger meetings on a regular basis unless you own the property or you're like a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a nonprofit and you can kind of like get like library space for free or something.
But then even it has to be
or-
on the weekends, so it does.
Sure.
There
And,
are some challenges to
and
it.
it depends on the situation that you're in too, because for example, we started in steampunk when we were in college, and we met up on college campus and like the rental rooms or the library or whatnot to talk about steampunk, like creating sort of a group club, but also like look into places like libraries or
Historical societies.
historical societies who are interested in getting new members and new blood into history.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, amongst ourselves, we have meetings that we usually hold. I mean, we don't generally have them kind of open to the public as like a general steampunk meetup because they're usually in our houses, that sort of thing. And so that there's a level of trust when it's like when you're in your house.
Oh yeah, and makerspaces. Makerspaces would be a perfect place, especially if you're interested in building steampunk props or steampunk costumes. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fortunately, we don't really live near one, but
Well, there's a couple. There's
There's
a makerspace downtown here.
Oh.
Yep.
I haven't been because I kind of found it while doing a walk during the apocalypse times. My apocalypse
and they're
walks.
like, no, you cannot enter anyway.
But I definitely will be checking them out, saying hello. I think you also you'll probably have to be a member of the makerspace,
Yep.
which can be costly. But if you are using the makerspaces, resources, like that point of a makerspace is that it's a space where you don't have to own all these tools. You can just go there and use the tools. That's awesome for prop making and all that. So it's worth finding a makerspace and maybe being a member for like a month or two to see if it's like gonna work out for you as a really fun resource. So very cool. So unless we have any more questions, I think we're gonna wrap up here, but it was so awesome talking with you guys
Yeah,
and having
thanks for coming.
Thank
all
you.
of your questions.
And yeah, check out the rest of the festival. There's a lot of cool stuff planned, and I'm very excited.
Yep. And you can check out all the videos in this afterwards, and you can always go to citizensofantiford.com and see all of our fun, awesome stories and content.
And feel free to reach out to us if you have any more questions. 'Cause
Absolutely.
We love answering questions.
Happy to help.
All right. Bye.
See you later.